I'm Jack, here with the BBC Schools report. Parks. We all use them. We all love them. Children play in them. But are they used as much as they should be? Councils spend lots of money every year trying to make them a lot better for a place, for the town and residents. But are they used enough? So we're here to gather all the information for you.
Our first question is, do you use the parks in and around Huntley?
Right, well, I don't actually use them, but I do know some of the parks. I often go down, in fact I do. I take my dogs down to Cooper Park at lunchtimes, and I also sometimes walk round by the Devon Park, so I know these two parks quite well. I know that there is a flat park, I think it's called, and I think there's another park, but I don't know them so well.
Thank you.
There are lots of parks in Huntley. Do you think the general public make use of all these amazing facilities?
Again, certainly the two parks that I know, and I can go as far back as my childhood. I lived in Keith, and quite often we came along to the Cooper Park in the summer because of the trampolines. Are the trampolines still there?
No.
There's not trampolines now. But I would think the members public, and Huntley is quite a touristy place, and I think yes, the parks would be very well used, especially in nice weather and especially in the summer, because there's a lot of new equipment in the Cooper Park. I think it's quite dangerous, certainly at lunchtimes when there's a lot of pupils all on the same piece of equipment. But generally in the summer when it's families and young people, it would be used really quite well. The Devon Park with the Devon behind it and the walks along the Devon and the ski centre and the mountain bike, yes, I think that park is used very well as well, but I don't know about the other two parks.
Do you use the parks in Huntley?
Yes, we use the parks. We use the Cooper Park for the children at Nursery, and we also use the outdoor facilities at the Linden Centre.
There are lots of parks in Huntley. Do you think the general public make use of all these amazing facilities?
Not as often as they should do. I think lots of children these days are too used to being indoors and playing PlayStation and computers and iPods and not get out to the parks as much as they should do.
Do you find that the parks are affected by graffiti and vandalism?
The popular parks are the Devon Park and the Cooper Park tend to be.
Do you think the younger general public would be influenced one way or another by the unsightly graffiti on the play park equipment?
I think the young children would probably notice it, but would be unaware of what it meant, or it wouldn't stop them play.
Do you think there is too much of the same equipment at the parks?
I feel we could do with more age-appropriate equipment. Sometimes it can be a bit for the older children and not enough equipment for the younger children, or being split areas.
What would you change about the parks to improve them?
To improve them, probably put some more safety padding round about the small equipment, especially for your under fives. If they've got climbing frames and things like that, maybe more padded areas or bark. And maybe have some of the under fives in beside the older ones, so that if you've got other children that you can keep an eye on both ages at the same time.
Thank you.
Do you use the parks in Huntley?
Yes, I do use the parks in Huntley with my children, probably the Devon and the Cooper Park.
There are a lot of parks in Huntley. Do you think the general public make use of all these amazing facilities?
Probably in the summertime more so, but they probably could use them more often.
Do you think the parks are affected by graffiti and vandalism?
Probably is a little bit of graffiti, yes. Again, probably down more the popular parks, down the Cooper Park and the Devon.
Do you think the younger general public will be influenced one way or another by the unsightly graffiti on the play park equipment at the Cooper and Devon?
Probably my children would probably notice it. I don't know if they'd be influenced by it or not, but certainly notice it.
Do you think that there is too much of the same equipment in the parks?
There's probably more for the older ones. So yes, probably needs to be a bit more balanced for younger and older.
Right, last one. What would you change about the play park to improve them?
Just a bit more variety for the age groups, so there's plenty for the younger age group and the older age group in the same area, so that you don't have to be split between two places at the same time. And probably maybe bark underneath or padded safety mats or something. It gets quite muddy in some of these parks.
Thank you very much
Thank
for your
you.
time.
Do you use the parks in Huntley?
Sometimes.
There are lots of parks in Huntley. Do you think the general public make use of all these amazing facilities?
Yes. And you're right to say they're amazing because if you compare it with other towns, we do very well here.
Do you think the parks are affected by graffiti and vandalism?
Sometimes, but not very often. Usually you find they're in quite good condition. Some litter sometimes, but usually they're in good nick.
Do you think that the younger general public will be influenced one way or another by unsightly graffiti on the play park equipment?
I don't know. Possibly, but I don't know.
Do you think there is too much of the same equipment in the parks?
It's always good to change it, isn't it? Always good to have a new thing in. And people come into the town to use the parks, so it actually helps the town. People will come in and their small children will insist that they go to the park. It helps the businesses in the town. So in that sense, it pays for itself to have an extra bit of equipment in again.
What would you do to change? What would you change about the play parks to improve them?
Well, not much really. Just as long as you cycle through some extra things and you've got somebody to check that everything works. There's nothing more disappointing is that when you go up to these things and it just doesn't work as well as you remember. So it would be good to have somebody checking.
Okay.
Thank you very much for your time.
Thank
You're
you
very
very
much.
Do you find that the parks are used enough in the summer?
Yeah, they're used quite a lot, to be honest. Like, quite busy down in the Nordic and stuff with all icicles and stuff like that. Especially Devon, because you can jump in the water. You're a bit hot, like, swims.
You should have more
The
people.
Coopers, they are good, like, the tennis courts are pretty dodgy.
They should be people on the hot, like, can't for like sexual health crisis.
We
We
need-
need folk in there all the time. I think.
There's quite a lot of icicles, like, in the thingy, the Nordic.
There's a few good memories. The hot at Cooper Park and all. Like,
That's a good hot, like, lots of stuff.
Which park do you think is the most popular and why do you think this?
I say Scott Drive because it's a circle.
Scott Drive is a bit badder, like, because you used to kick it bad, you used to hit pieces, and you had to run away and stuff like that.
I say Devon.
But if it's in Devon because of the water, you can say I can splash.
Okay, thank you.
Is that enough?
Yeah.
Oh, cheers.
You guys didn't wait for 5 seconds. Do you find that the parks are used enough in the summer?
I think if the weather's nice, then people definitely use the parks a lot more than if it's raining and horrible.
In the summer, does the facilities at the Cooper and Devon Park get used to their full potential, or are they abandoned too much?
I think that there's some things that are used more than others because they're a lot more fun than other things, like that big spinny thing. Everybody uses that, and the flying fox. But yeah.
Do you think that there is too much of the same equipment at the parks?
I think it's quite widespread. I mean, there's like obviously there's like overlapping of like the slides and swings and stuff, but that kind of.
Which park do you think is the most popular, and why do you think it is?
Probably the Devon, because in summertime if it's hot, everybody goes swimming as well. You can have barbecues and play the park and that.
Okay, thank you. Do you find that the parks are used enough in the summer?
Yeah, I think so. Especially with Devon. People down there a lot.
In the summer, does the facilities at the Cooper and Devon Park get used to their full potential or are they abandoned too much?
I think they probably do. Every time I'm down there seems to be a lot of kids playing on the playground and stuff. Yeah, and there's always skiers going about down at the Devon.
Do you think that there's too much of the same equipment at the parks?
I think the Devon could probably do with a bit more. There's not actually that much playground stuff at the Devon. It's mainly the Cooper. But other than that, I wouldn't have said so.
Which park do you think is the most popular and why do you think this?
I think Cooper is more popular with younger kids because it's got better playground equipment. I think the Devon's probably more popular with older people because it's got more room to, like, you know, go out when it's sunny and just sit about, go paddling and things.
Okay, thank you for your time.
Camera.
Hello, I'm Magnus, and as you can see behind me, these parks are very popular with pupils, and well, when you gotta go, you gotta go.